Eyakarava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidya Balujevanam Anandam Bhurivardanam Pratipadam Bhurnam Vitasvadanam Sarvatma Sapanam Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. The holy name of Krishna cleanses the mirror of the heart and extinguishes the fire of misery in the forest of birth and death. As the evening lotus blossoms in the moon's cooling rays, the heart begins to blossom in the nectar of the name. At last, the soul awakens to its real inner treasure, a life of love with Krishna. Again and again, tasting nectar, the soul dives and surfaces in the ever-increasing ocean of ecstatic joy. All inconceivable phases of the self are fully satisfied and purified, and at last conquered by the all-auspicious influence of the holy name of Krishna. Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtan. Srila Goswami. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the pioneer of Sri Krishna Sankirtan. He has said, "I have come to inaugurate the chanting of the holy name of Krishna, and that name will reach every nook and corner of the universe. Pritiviti ati ata Pritiviti achi ata nagarari gram sarvatra pachar hoive morinam." What is the meaning of Sankirtan? Samyak. Samyak means full, and Kirtan means chanting. Together, these two words form the word Sankirtan. Samyak and Kirtan. Full and chanting. But Samyak means full, not only in quantity, but also in quality. Full quantity means extensive in number, congregational. Full quality means complete praise. Complete praise can only mean the glorification of Krishna and not of any other gods. Also, complete means that we must full-heartedly chant the holy name of Krishna. His glories are complete. There are many devas, gods. Even a king is a type of deva. He's a type of lord, a type of master. They are higher and higher. Many demigods, many Vishnu avatars, many lords in Vaikuntha, many types of lords. So, if we look at the complete ontological literature of the Vedas, then the culmination is that, what is that? Ishvara Parama Krishna. The supreme controller, the supreme lord is Krishna. Deva Deva Jagatpate. He's lord of even lords. There are many devas, but he's the deva of the devas. So, he is complete. And his holy name is complete. So, one meaning of the Sankirtan means congregational or complete chanting. It is done in a group, and it is a complete glorification of that Supreme Lord. It is the glorification of the complete Lord. Do you understand what I'm saying? The Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are not two Supreme Personalities of Godhead. There is one. There are not many gods. There is one. Once in an argument, or not an argument, a conversation with some gentleman, Srila Prabhupada asked him what is his definition of supreme, and he told we are all supreme. All these living beings, we are the supreme. Then he said, get a dictionary. Look up supreme. What is the meaning of supreme being? So they looked this up in the dictionary, and it said, no one is equal to or greater than. So there are no two first place winners. There's one first place. And second place is the first loser. So there's one Supreme Personality of Godhead. Well, there is the fact that he has his incarnations, he has his manifestations. But nonetheless, there's one Adi Swayam Bhagavan. his bona fide incarnations, expansions come from there. The demigods, everything expands from there. One Supreme Being. So that one Supreme Being is Krishna. So it is, in one sense, a complete glorification because it addresses that one Supreme Being. But what is lacking is we are only half-heartedly giving ourselves to the process of the holy name of Krishna. Only half-heartedly. Yeyatamam prapadyante. Krishna reveals a small secret in Bhagavad Gita that according to your surrender to me, I reward you accordingly. Actually, he is so magnanimous that he rewards our surrender to him excessively, actually, not accordingly. Accordingly means you give me $1, I'll give you $1. You do me a favor, I'll do you a favor. We sometimes say, oh, we owe him a favor. We owe her a favor. We keep track of what people have done for us. We make sure to return that favor. So accordingly means an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. And the law of karma is pretty much accordingly. Krishna says, I reward them accordingly. But actually, we have observed, he is very magnanimous in his reciprocation. With devotees particularly. If the devotee makes one step towards Krishna, he makes 2 or 3 or 4 steps towards him. And ultimately, we surrender everything to Krishna. And he may give himself to us. But what is the everything that we have? The everything that we have in this world is his anyway. And the everything that we have within ourselves, that is also his anyway. The living entities are also his. It's not that we are a separate energy from God. And it's just a matter of good smarts that we surrender to him. No, we are his energy. We are his separated parts and parcels. But more vividly, we are so small. We are measured as 1/10,000th the size of the tip of the hair. Finite. 1/10,000th the size of the tip of the hair. We give all of that, and Krishna gives all of himself to us, the infinite. The finite gives this, it's less than this much, and Krishna gives this much in response. So, the only thing is lacking is the quantity of the approach to the holy name of Krishna. Not quantity, the quality of our approach to the holy name of Krishna. That must be complete. That is the practice of sadhana bhakti, devotional service. How to make that process complete. How to give ourselves fully to Krishna, fully to the holy name of Krishna. There are basically 3 stages in which we approach the holy name. Namaparad, which we should avoid. Offenses to the holy name. Chanting offensively. 2, namabhas, that is like the shadow of the holy name. And 3, sudhanam. Now, mostly, what you have found so far is sudhanam, the shadow of the holy name. When you connect, namabhas, when you connect to the pure holy name of Krishna, then all other things in this world become second-rated within one moment. Not within a long time, like a very long time you will chant purely the holy name of Krishna, and slowly you will come out of all kinds of material considerations, conceptions, in a moment. In less than a moment. We will leave all other things as secondary and minor and unimportant. Of course, we have this thing, the top 10. So, things remain in the top 10. We live a healthy life, a prosperous life, all sorts of things, family, friends, all types of things are there in the top 10. But number 1 will be Krishna. Number 1. Number 1 object of our love, our affection, the main concern of everything will be Krishna. And anything non-Krishna will be about as welcome as a cobra in your home. You would never allow a cobra to just slither in the doorway and disappear under the furniture. You'd never settled for that. So, when one has come to the first-class position of pure chanting of the holy name, then everything anti-Krishna. Now that doesn't mean your wealth, your family, your education. These things are not necessarily anti-Krishna. They may be. anti-Krishna. Your friends, they may be anti-Krishna. So many things may be anti-Krishna, or they may be pro-Krishna. If they're pro-Krishna, then they can be in the top 10, but not number 1. But if they are anti-Krishna, they are intolerable, even if they are so-called friends, family, loved ones, and all these other things. Even wealth. Wealth may be anti-Krishna. How do we have to go about getting that wealth? What will we do if one of our relatives, say one of my relatives died and they owned a beer factory? What would we do? Would we continue to own that beer factory and get the money? Well, frankly, it depends on how much it was making. But very, very shortly we would sell it. We would sell it. But someone may even doubt why you sold it. No, we would sell it to purify our ancestors and take that money and spend it for Krishna. We would not spend any of that for our personal self. Spending for Krishna does include taking care of devotees. But when trying to purify someone who is very, very sinful, we don't consider ourselves as devotees. We won't say, well, I'll spend it for myself and this will purify them. Like I know there was one devotee, he was a Brahmin. He used to go out on the streets in Honolulu and he would collect. And all of his collection was just to maintain himself and his wife. They didn't have any children, just him and his wife. And they lived in a nice apartment. And he would just go out and do the sankirtan thing and support himself. And one day I asked him how he feels about that, and he says, well, probably it says in the books it's a duty of people to support the Brahmins. I said, yeah, but the Brahmins have certain duties to perform that make them worthwhile to support. And he said, yeah, that's sankirtan. So he had created this nice little circle of, what do you call it, maintenance was sankirtan. So if you provided his maintenance, that was, you were purified. So, whenever we purify something that's very, very sinful, we try to push that upwards as far as possible. We spend directly for the deity. We print a book with that. We do feed the devotees prasadam and do things for the other devotees, but we should not think, oh, well, we'll just increase our own standard of living and whatever. And that will purify those sinful persons. I'm just pointing out that devotee seva is also very purifying for the sinful. It's very, very purifying, you see. So, but we would not keep that beer factory running on and making money, because that money would be anti-Krishna conscious. It's coming from a source that we're trying to eliminate anyway. You see, it would be anti-Krishna conscious, so that money would not be favored. Here in the Western country, many people came and gave drug money to the Krishna consciousness movement at different times. Big bags full, sometimes $100,000. A visit from some wayward fallen soul. These things happened even in Srila Prabhupada's time. And it was hearsay, but I heard that on one such occasion some money was given. And then the devotees asked about this. What is the purification? And he told them, there is no devotional service here. You cannot do sinful things and give that money to Krishna and think that that's devotional service. But a certain amount of the sin itself may be neutralized. A person sells drugs, which Prabhupada called, and that money he called blood money, because it is actually sucking the blood of people. It is actually murderous. Taking that money, and then they give that to some temple. That is not devotional service. To a certain extent, they may be purified because they surrendered that blood money. But that is not devotional service. One can give millions of such dollars, millions, billions even, and he does not get the benefit of even attending one artik. A beggar, a poor man or woman, can come in off of the street and attend an artik ceremony and wonder about the form of the Lord and see the beauty and the lamp going and just have a wonder like, what is that? Looks beautiful. Just that will give a vast amount of spiritual progress, whereas this donation of millions of dollars of sinful money. This will not do anything. This will not do anything. Another thing is maybe your money's not sinful. And you come in a very grand way. You come and you make your big check donation and you put your crores of rupees there to be recognized by the Lord. What I have given you, or your big amount of money and prestige. I'm the one that built the temple. I did this. I did this. There's a saying, a pauper is proud of his penny. It's related, this pride. And this pride, what is this money we have placed in front of Krishna? It's a piece of paper. It's a piece of paper. You smell it, it stinks. And we will think we will get so much benefit just by placing this money in front of Krishna. You heard about the man who died and went to heaven? And when he got to the pearly gates, the door was locked and the angel came and said, "May I help you?" And he said, "Well, I died. I've come here to heaven." He said, "We're no scheduled arrivals today." He said, "Well, maybe there's a mistake. Just check up." So the guy checked up, got his name, went to the book and said, "Well, I'm sorry, your name's not in the book of heaven." He goes, "Oh, there must be some mistake." So the angel went to God and said, "There's a man at the door. Says he should come to heaven." God says, "Is his name in the book?" He said, "No." He said, "Then what to do?" He went back and told him, "Your name's not in the book." He said, "But my name must be in the book. I would always give $5 in the church. I went to church and I gave $5 when the basket went around." So the angel went back and told God, "Sir, he says he gave $5 in the church." God told him, "Tell him to take his $5 and go to hell." So, simply giving money is not devotional service. Now, in a more scholarly way, in a more without humor or anything, Bhaktivinoda Thakura has explained this in, I think it's Bhakti Tattva Vivek, a little red book that floats around here. I passed it out years ago to all the adults. A little small red book by Bhaktivinoda Thakura, translated by Narasingha Maharaja and the members of Gaudiya Vaiṣṇava. Nice little book. And there it's explained, simply this giving money and all sorts of things are not really devotional service. Then he categorizes, there are things which are preparation for devotional service, getting ready for devotional service. But those things aren't really devotional service either. He analyzes what is really devotional service, not in such a way that it is meant to put anybody down, actually, but so that we can understand that simply getting ready is not sufficient. We must prepare ourselves. Then we must engage ourselves. And we must actually come to the level of doing devotional service. So, an analytical study simply allows us to see, oh, this thing is actually not really devotional service, but I've been thinking that it is. Oh, this particular activity is against devotional service. I should eliminate this from my association or from my habits. I should dismiss this. You see, many books we have are like that. They are to help us eliminate those things which are not favorable for devotional service, and to adopt those things which are favorable for devotional service. The scriptures that we study are not meant to put any living entity down per se, but they are to help all living entities elevate themselves in spiritual life. So, nobody knows this process better than the Supreme Lord Himself. Nobody knows the process of devotion better than the Supreme Lord Himself, except the Supreme Lord's dearmost devotees. They actually know what is beneficial for the fallen souls even more than the Supreme Lord does. And particularly, that starts in the spiritual world. Many things are known by the liberated souls. They're not so clearly known by the Lord Himself. Not really liberated souls, but yeah, liberated souls also. Particularly, no one knows about devotion and how to please Krishna better than Srimati Radharani. She alone knows how to please Krishna better than all others. Therefore she is called Bhakti Devi, the mother of devotion, the storehouse of devotion. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says the absolute truth is one. A non-dual substance. It is one. It is not formless Brahman, but it is one. Then he says that non-dual substance has divided itself eternally to enjoy rasa. And that eternal couple is known as Radha and Krishna. Radharani is also Krishna. Krishna is also Radharani. Means they're the absolute truth. You cannot have one without the other. Krishna alone is not the absolute truth. Radharani alone is also not the absolute truth. Radha and Krishna are the absolute truth. They have divided themselves eternally to enjoy Leela and Rasa. Then he says, again, they have united as one. And that is the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, the Lord himself, who knows the most about devotion and what type of devotion will be beneficial for all living beings, that is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He knows. He knows the most. If you take devotion from just the side of Radharani, or you take devotion just from the side of Krishna, it will not equal what you will understand from devotion, about devotion, if you take it from the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The culmination of Radha and Krishna combined, that is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Some people say, when Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that non-dual substance divided into two, they say, then again united into one. What is again? I was on this seat, I sat on the floor, I again sat on the seat. Again sat on the seat. Means I came back to my original position. So many people, they look at Radha and Krishna, then came Mahaprabhu. Well, how about this? First Mahaprabhu, then came Radha and Krishna. Then again came Mahaprabhu. It is like Ram and Krishna in a circle. Which one came first in this world? You can't say. They actually exist eternally. But it is said that that non-dual substance was one. Then it became Radha and Krishna. But generally we think there was Radha and Krishna, then it became Mahaprabhu. But we have to pay attention to what we hear from such holy books as Chaitanya Charitamrita. So many devotees, they will say, yes, that original one, non-dual substance, that is Mahaprabhu. And he performed his leelas as Radha Krishna. Again, he united as Radha and Krishna in one and descended to this world. So, I've mentioned this many times, and there are some paintings of this also that sometimes help us. This, I think just pass me the cover of that book, first volume. At least it was on the original cover. I don't know if it's on this one. Yes, there it is. You see, if you look at this, this is the world of Goloka. All this Vaikuntha rising up to Goloka. You follow? Goloka Vrindavan. Oh, there's Radha and Krishna and the cows. And on this side, there are Krishna and the gopis, and that is very, very nice. And then on this side, we see that there is Chaitanya Leela. So if we look and just follow the pen of the artist, the brush of the artist, then we think, oh, Navadvip is a portion of the spiritual sky. A portion of Goloka. Maybe a little misleading. Huh? You want to take a picture of that?
I got it.
Maybe a little misleading. You cannot paint the spiritual sky on the book cover here. What to speak of a Vaikuntha planet. How you paint one Vaikuntha planet on one book cover when this whole material world, whole material universe doesn't compare to a grain of sand in comparison to that world. We cannot actually paint and bring the infinite down to such things in its totality. But we can give a reference to that. Ultimately, the scripture does that also. We speak about the scripture as the totality of truth, but actually it's just a point of reference towards the truth. Going to other planets, it said the Bhagavatam is 1,000 volumes long. Here it's only 25 or so volumes long. There it's 1,000 volumes. What is it in other universes that are much bigger than this one? You cannot put the totality. You can put only the reference. The totality of truth is there in Om. But Om is a point of reference, which we will enter into the truth. It is the truth, but without entering into the truth, it's simply a point of reference. Srila Sridhara Maharaj said the scriptures are like signboards on the way. Turn here to Boston. Turn here to New York. These are signboards on the highway. So the scripture says, leave these things behind. These are not good. These are good things. And the Supreme Lord Himself is revealing things in the scriptures, and His devotees are revealing things in the scriptures. The experience of the devotees is more valuable for us than the experience even of the Supreme Lord, in a sense. Then that means that the representatives, the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what they say for our guidance, that is the most beneficial thing that we have. What our guardians say, the devotees' experience. Mahaprabhu is in the mood of a devotee, but more valuable than his experience is the experience of his devotees. Because what he experiences, in many cases, living entities cannot experience. All the pleasures of the spiritual world are not open to everyone. The king, he has his court. Many are in his court. And his servant is also sitting right by his side. Even the slave is standing on that marble floor. And he does not, we've seen in different movies, the slaves are crawling around the court of the king where they're slave and they're all being whooped on. And you just think about, why would the king want to have this dirty, smelly guy crawling around the court, whipping him and blood dripping all over the place? No, the slaves, they even lived in such opulence as the king. The king dressed them in silk with beauty. When he looked at that slave, he just didn't want to see some ragamuffin standing there. And they dressed him in jewels and ornaments and all types of things. But did they dress them as good as the king? No. Did they eat as good as the king? They didn't have their slaves just eating oatmeal mush. And their all faces are shrunken in like this in the court. Why would they want to do that? They fed them very nicely, but not as nice as the king himself ate. So all the pleasures that are offered to living entities in liberation, they're not equal to that of the Supreme Lord. In one plane of analysis, it says that the pleasures of the devotees are greater. But anyway, it becomes a very high topic that awaits our experience for final confirmation of really what it is. But at any rate, down here in this world, the words of the guardians of devotion are superior to us than anything else that we have. So many things are said. There's a book laying here, 5,000 years old. And people debate how old it is. Scholars say this was only written 600 years ago. We say it was written 500 years ago. What are you going to believe? But if it was written 10,000 years ago, what's the difference? What is the difference? Maybe it wasn't 5,000. Maybe it was 4,400. Time. How do we count this time and keep record of all these things? It was 5,000 years ago, 25 years ago. And we still say it's 5,000 years. So, and I found out that 100 years ago, they were also saying it was 5,000 years. So nobody's like keeping the exact record here, how long it is. And then it says so many things. Then how do you know? And now maybe you have some faith, you have some feeling for that. But in the beginning, how do you know? These books come, so many things are said. How do you know? If you analyze, particularly first start with the older devotees. Do you know by your experience? Or you just go on an intuitive faith? You must have some experience. Just like Jaydev Prabhu told me the story many times, how by and by he came to discover Srila Prabhupada's books. He's reading different books on yogi and everything like this, and discovered Srila Prabhupada's books, and he realized, this is my guru, this is my teacher, this is my mentor, this is my guardian. Did he realize on that day that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? He may have had so much attraction towards Krishna, but the first realization came, oh, here is my guru, here is my teacher. Then what that teacher says, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we go forward on the assurance of our guardians, not on our direct experience. Otherwise, why have guardians? What's the need of guardians? We have some enthusiasm, some revelation, some experience, but that experience brings us to our guardians, and on the strength of the words of our guardians we go forward. not on just based on our own realization. That is a very high platform of God consciousness. When we move forward based on our own realizations. That is very, very advanced stage. And you hardly see anyone, any even liberated soul, so bold as to just tell, I'm simply going on my realizations. Very, very high stage, very rarely revealed to us. Why? Because what great men do, others will follow. Therefore, even the liberated souls, they will daily pray and act in such a way as to show us that all that I have, all of my fortune, it is given to me by my guardians. Without their hand, without their guidance, I am lost on the path. Even they've achieved their higher realizations. They are professors. They are not students. But they will say they are students. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, we consider him as a master of masters. But he always referred to himself as a class monitor. Class monitor. That means when the teacher leaves the class, one of the senior students will monitor the class in the absence of the teacher. I don't know if they still have that system in public schools, but we used to have that. Class monitors. Class monitor is also a student. Sridhara Maharaj said it was always very painful for us to sit there and hear him describe himself in such a menial way as only a monitor. But he taught us we are eternally students, always students. But yet they knew, actually, he is our master. He is the master of many masters, actually. Not even just a master. It's a very great master. So, the Supreme Lord, his guidance, and the guidance of his devotees is everything. Then, if we follow that successfully, then we may enter in the world of our own substantial experience, which will confirm everything. You see, it confirms that. Otherwise, in the beginning, we are simply going on a simple faith. But don't think that this simple faith is something which is deceiving. The simple faith is also very rare. People have faith to follow the words of the guardians. So, in Siksastakam, Mahaprabhu and his devotee, Mahaprabhu in his verse, and all the devotees henceforward who have ever uttered a word about this verse agree with what the Lord says. Cheto darpana marjanam. The first and foremost necessity in our life, spiritual life, is self-purification. We have to purify ourselves of millions of lifetime of accumulating unwanted things, unwanted desires, unwanted characteristics, so many unwanted things. We have to purge ourselves, purify ourselves of those things. But how? These things have stuck on us like glue. You see, like those sticky frogs in Govindji Gardens in the rainy season. They just jump and stick wherever they land. It's very hard to get rid of them. Very hard. Like stool. It has such an aroma, it just attracts the flies. So like that, we are stuck up. And we have the qualities of all these buzzing flies around us. But when the sun purifies even the most filthy object, gradually the flies go away. It becomes purified in connection with something which is supremely pure. So in this regard, that is the holy name of Krishna. We may be the epitome of bad qualities. We may be the ocean of undesirable qualities. But if we submit ourselves wholeheartedly to the holy name of Krishna, then by that association, we become progressively purified. In the beginning, you find it hard to control anger. Different types of personalities are there. Like Vishnu Maharaj. By nature, he doesn't become angry. If he does, you don't want to be around. I'm telling you. It makes me look like a puppeteer. I mean, just like a puppet. I'm always showing angry, but I don't have much. I have big bark and little bite. And Vishnu Maharaj never barks, but when he bites, you don't want to be on the biting end of that, the receiving end of that. But many people are just angry by nature. And you tell them, give up anger, and they'll just go, a can't. They'll just be angry to hear about it. And believe me, they can't. They just can't give up nature. Oh, there it is. It's a piece of my coat, and throw it on the floor. They can't just give up anger. It is impossible. In any other material desire or characteristic, large or small, you just can't give it up. It's impossible. How do you just give it up? It's like it's become a part of you. It's become a part of us. So that is a process of sadhana bhakti. Self-purification, association with the holy name. Now, you go out here and work and change a flat tire and do some car work and come home and your hands are all dirty. And if you touch anything, it gets dirty. So you go wash your hands. So, we all know about washing hands. Depends on how dirty your hands are. First off, you have greasy hands, you wash your hands with cold water. What do you got when you're finished? Greasy hands. It doesn't work. Okay, warm water. Still. Soap. Still. Brush. Brush that crud out of there. So even to wash your hands, if different levels of intensity are required, then we shouldn't think that we will casually take up the holy name, chant for a few minutes every day, and we'll become purified of all troubling things within the heart and characteristics and desire. And all these things will go away and we'll experience this supreme joy, supreme bliss, and we will simply live a life of love of Krishna. That's not possible. We require the brush. The brush. The brush means that we must rigorously take up the holy name of Krishna. And rigor doesn't just mean shouting, running up and down your living room in the morning and looking at others who are still haven't kind of woken up yet and going, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, chant the holy name, and run around. That's not really rigorous. That's passionate. That's some type of passion. But within, with all your earnestness, all your sincerity, you have to take up the holy name as if you were coming out of 20, 30 foot of water and had been down there for 2 or 3 minutes. What happens when you burst through to the top? You embrace that air and just, you can't seem to get enough of it. In this way, we have to embrace the holy name of Krishna. Not casually. You don't casually come up from 30 foot down and then just gotta sniff a little air. That doesn't work. You breathe air, and that air is your life. The life of a devotee is the holy name. The life of everything we do is the holy name. And then everything else, including eating prasadam, worshiping the deity, all these things are to help us in the culture of chanting the holy name of Krishna. Everything is centered on the holy name of Krishna. So, we are learning devotional service from our guardians. Who are our guardians? Well, there's a long line, goes all the way to the spiritual world and includes hundreds and thousands. So we're very fortunate. But we're mainly concerned with 4 guardians. Who are they? I'll tell you. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Sridhara Maharaj, Srila Puri Maharaj. These are our 4 guardians. And I tell you, most people in the world don't have 4 guardians. Most devotees in the world don't have 4 guardians. They sometimes only have 1 guardian. We're so fortunate that we have 4 guardians. So, and what have they left us? They've left us a legacy of practice, which includes institutional arrangements, how to do things for the benefit of a community from day to night, how to operate temples, how to worship deities, how to prepare for Shabbat, how to preach to other people. They've left us such a legacy of those things that we cannot even perform all those things in a day. They have left us a legacy of their words, which are thousands of hours. If you count them all, there are thousands of hours of recorded words of guidance. There are hundreds of hours of recorded video. And there are dozens and dozens and dozens of books which are the concentrated attention of their, or concentrated effort of their guidance in one place. Like the Bhagavad Gita, like Follow the Angels, like the Heart of Krishna, like the Art of Sadhana. If someone says, I have studied all these books, that is very, very good. But to do everything in these books, that will take you a lifetime. I'm 57 years old and I've read all these books. But I haven't been able to do everything in those books, because to do everything in those books requires a lifetime. So, we are interested in the guidance that we find there in our guardians. We're not interested in new things. We're not interested in speculative things. We're not interested in concoctions that spring from frustration. A lot of things in the devotional world today are preached as philosophies, doctrines, institutional doctrines and such. They spring from frustration and disappointment, disharmony. Then these things develop. We're not interested in all those new things. We're interested in those old as gold things, which our guardians have given us. Those things which they gave are not outdated. Things which descend from an eternal world where there is no time never become outdated in this world. Never. We sometimes look back on Vedic culture as if it's outdated. The only thing is outdated is us. We're out of the grip of it. I mentioned to one devotee in Kerala. Some of you know him. What's his name?
Guru Charan.
Guru Charan. He was in the early days of Govindji Gardens. One of the summers he came there. He was only like 13 then. He's 22 now. Close to Govardhan's age. So I told him, oh, Govardhan was engaged. He goes, but he's so young. So I said, so what is the time for engagement? He said, 29, 30, 31. But if you go to Rajasthan, engagements are 12, 13, 14. Prabhupada's wife was 11 years old when he was married. She was 11. So we look at that like, oh, that's horrible. But what's horrible about it is it just don't fit into society. If you waved a magic wand and went across society and it went back to that system, there'd probably be a hell of a lot less child molesting going on in the world. A lot less other types of sexual perversions, homosexuality of different types. Probably that stuff would get greatly reduced. We've got this very other way of looking at life, but it doesn't seem to control lust very well. So we're not advocating that. It's not possible to do all those things in this Vedic society, and I wouldn't want to be the one to try to pick up the wand. But the fact is, the time of the Vedas is not over. It's not over. It's not something that was just applicable in India for a long time in the past. And now, in this modern age, it's just over. So what's over is the ability of society to be in harmony with all these things. It's Kali Yuga. So many things are even said in the Vedas not to be so applicable in this life. And even sannyasa is one of them. Being a sannyasi is one of the things that is not so applicable in this life. And from the Vedic point of view, it's forbidden. From the Vaishnava point of view, it's not so applicable to everyone. It's not applicable to everyone. But one thing is applicable to everyone, and that is that everyone should take the holy name of Krishna. Everyone. Even if you're a non-vegetarian, take the holy name of Krishna. We don't say, oh, you be a vegetarian, then you take the holy name of Krishna. You see, our Bhakti Canon is a result of that. Some connection with Krishna, Mahaprasadam, the holy name, then gradually doing these things. There have been many non-vegetarians who were devotees of Krishna, actually. Many. Bhima, Arjuna, who? Garuda. Hanuman. Monkeys are also non-veg. I'm not so sure about Hanuman, but others. That is not a qualification. It so happens that we take Krishna Prasadam, and Krishna does not eat non-vegetarian things, so consequently we're vegetarian. But actually we're not vegetarian. We're not even real vegetarians. Anyway, you drink milk, you're not a real vegetarian. And milk is not a vegetable. Milk is pure animal fat. It is a civilized way of drinking blood. That's what Srila Prabhupada used to say. It is high in animal protein. So what do they call them, the lacto-vegetarians? They're actually right. The rest of us aren't really vegetarians. It's just a loose-knit term of the world. Cheese, yogurt is not a vegetable. Yeah, it's called vegan, right? So we're actually not vegetarians. And we're not interested in being vegans either. We're prasaditarians. it's a different thing. It's a different thing. So anyway, I don't want to just get off on other subjects which take a lot of background explanation, but the point is, the advice of the scriptures is not outdated. If it were outdated now in year 2002, it would have been already outdated in 1965. Srila Prabhupada would not have bothered to spend his life writing this book up to 1977, 87, 97, 23, 4 years. It didn't get out. The Vedas just didn't. We didn't live on that timeline where the Vedas became outdated, believe me. So, but all social considerations, they may not be mandatory, they may not be possible. There is some leeway for that. But what is the essence of all these books? That never tires, and that is not subject to a cultural fixed definition. That's for any culture at any time. Harinam, 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 Eva Kevalam, Lo Nasteva, 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 Gati Ranyata. The holy name of Krishna is that supreme religious principle for the age of Kali. Alright, Go Premanandi, Hari Hari. What time is it?
8:45.
8:45. Alright, sure.